Just one more fight about your leadership. Limp Bizkit, ladies and gentlemen. Boys and girls, how we doing? We got a classic 45-minute episode going today. We got a busy day. We got a lot going on. We're in the dungeon right now, and we're looking at things. We're thinking, how are they going to go? How are they going to play this year? Well, how are we doing on the map? It's clipping. I'm looking at the audio coming in today, and we're thinking, how's it going to go? How's it go? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rock Show with Connor Farrell. We've got an exciting day for you. We got an exciting day full of lots of things ahead. And you better keep your hats on tight and you better get them ready because we're going to go. We're going to go for a run. We're going to go somewhere. Where are we going? I don't know. I do know. Oh, the AirPods are magnetic. I've got a tin full of these mints. I can't show you the name of the mints. I'm talking too loud into the microphone. I'm changing it so you can see my face and my everything because I was having to hold the microphone like this. And I would talk to you like this, and you'd see me like this. And now I'm holding the microphone like this, and you can see I'm talking to the microphone. I'm talking above the microphone. I'm talking to you, and the microphone is here just picking it up. It's in the middle of us. It's in the middle of us. See what's happening? There you go. Moving. We're having a good hair day. I'm bumping into the air filter. What am I doing? Getting sloppy. Tangerine vanilla mints. Mints with a Z, people. Kids, cats, everything in between. Now, what are we here talking about today? We don't got a lot of time. We're already 1 minute down. Now, let's talk about what's happening. So, I'm working on the pitch. I'm working on the video that's going at the front of each podcast, right? I'm going to have a little thing. So basically, here's the strat. Phase 1 is get to 700. You might be thinking, 700 what? No, what indeed are we trying to reach 700 on? I'm looking at the software, and it's yapping at me, and I don't much like the recording software to yap at me. I don't find it delightful. I don't find it pleasurable. I see the camera's slightly tilted today. Let's see. Can we be troubled to tilt the camera? Did that do much better? I seriously, I don't recall. I don't know if the camera is much better. I'm sorry, darling. I have no clue how to fix this. I have no clue how to fix this. What am I going to do? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's better. It's evening out. Oh, is it going to fall over? Don't fall over. Okay, we're a little crooked, but who cares? We're running and gunning. We're gunning and running. Got my gun. Shit. Here we go. Got my gun. Shoot. Trigger discipline. Okay. You see that? Running and gunning. Woo! John is a sweaty boy today. My name's not John, but boy, am I sweaty. I'm not a boy, but I'm sweaty, and I'm not named John. Don't call me Shirley. Oh, shoot. Shuck a seashell by the seashore. So what are we talking? We're talking the 700. The 700. Now, what's up with that? So the 700, gulp. The 700, it's so funny. I'm getting used to this thing. I'm talking to you. You know, I'm getting used to it. Cut me some slack. Oh, shoot. I can't even check. Let's see. Oh, my God. It's almost been 90%. So we're probably 10% through the pod today. I really got to get to it. I got to get to it. Don't worry. I'll get to it. Don't you hate it when I look away from you? You hate it. You hate it when I look away from you. Now you can see my beautiful edifice. Does edifice mean face? That's another word. Definitely not Oedipus. That ain't complex. But I got a complex. So let's see. Let's see. Oh, basically, all it takes is 700. Once we get the 700 assembled, you seen that movie 300? I'm assuming it's about 300 warriors doing something cool. We are the 700. Me and the other 700. Together, I got a notification. I'm sorry, guys. I should have put it on Do Not Disturb. You know, that's really messed up of me. You know what? I'm going to figure out how to put this on Do Not Disturb. No, but that's really messed up. No, seriously. Do not disturb. Do not disturb. Just one more fight about your leadership, and I will straight up leave your shiz. Try not to swear, I remembered. Shizzle is a curse word, technically, under the Oxford Dictionary. Now, it only takes 700. That's not 7. 5 plus dos. 5 plus dos. Cinco y dos. Siete, as one may say. 700. So, sete cinco. No, sete ciente. I don't know. Sete cien? Something like that. I'm learning Spanish. Okay, clearly I haven't done my Duolingo today. The Duo bird. I have a widget on my phone and he yells at me. He goes, squawk, 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 squawk. Duolingo, squawk, squawk. I'm like, dude, knock it off. And he goes, squawk, squawk. I'm like, chill, home fry. I'm right here. And, to his credit, he goes, okay. I'm like, thank you. What are you going to do? Oh, I can't even do that voice. I'm really high-pitched nasally right now. Yeah, vocal fry. We're going to take some deep breaths. We're going to reorient at a lower frequency. No, we're just goofing around. There's a serious undertone happening here. What's happening here? Oh, I'm getting off track. That's what's happening. So the 700. I talked about the Duolingo bird. Man, I am sweaty. It is hot out. I was wearing black. I went in for an extended excursion with some compatriots, and that's very taxing. Extended excursions they can be taxing. Your core body temperature is going to heat up. I mean, what are we talking here? You're in the sun, you're wearing black because you're a strong black man, and you're getting sweaty. Ooh, oil up. Now, it only takes 700. We are Prometheus. We are giving fire to man. It's all it takes. That's the funny thing, is these are the 700 people who are going to be known in history. That's the thing. So it's kind of funny is I'm working this out, kind of the exact specifics, but basically it's going to be an elite club of just the 700 1st Regiment. It's called the 701st Regiment of the New Rock Dynasty. These are the progenitors of the New Rock Dynasty. These are the people who actually made it happen. There's this idea from Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel was the guy who made PayPal with Elon Musk. And he has a book called 0 to 1. And it's saying that basically it's this idea, kind of, this is my conceptualization, is that when you have a rocket trying to leave Earth, right, it's got to escape orbit. But once it escapes orbit, boom, zoom, it can zoom, right? Most of the fuel, most of the trouble is just getting out of the orbit. And so it's escape velocity. It's getting out of orbit. That's where the trouble is. Because once you do that, boom, very easy, you flow through things, right? Once you've got critical mass, once it's big enough, once it's going, once it has escape velocity, 1. Before that, it's 0, then it's 1. It's binary. Either it's clicked or it hasn't clicked. And once it clicks, once it reaches escape velocity, there's no turning back. There's no putting that back, Pandora's box. It's open. The new Rock Dynasty is upon us. The new age of rock shall commence. Right? And so that's the funny thing with it is these 700 are going to be the ones that people go and look back who actually shaped rock. Because that's the thing we're going to do is we're going to take the 700 and we're going to take their names. I'm working on the details, but we're going to publicize them, whether that's in the end credits of different podcasts, right? Whether that's by having a directory, making a yearbook of the 700 or something like that people can purchase and getting, people to hear their piece from. But basically, the 700, what do they get? from being the 700 who helped us go from 0 to 1. They get immortalization. They're immortalized in the history, and we're going to publicize that they are the 700. They are the ones who made us from 0 to 1. They are the originals. They are the people who made it happen. They deserve the praise. They deserve the credit. And we will take them with us. As we grow successful, as we grow influential, as New Rock Dynasty takes over the world, as I become the kingmaker, the first kingmaker, and then all of the subsequent kingmakers that I bring onto the scene, that we bring onto the scene, because you, for like Christ's sakes, the 700, you're probably going to be most of the first couple kingmakers, right? Okay, let me get into this whole thing. Here's the strat. Once we get escape velocity, this is where it gets crazy, because I'm a nerd. I started doing some drawings, doing projections and things. So I said, let's say once the 700, once we commence, and I'm able to take, basically, the 700, here's what's happening. The 700, you're going to listen, you're going to do 5 by 5. 5 by 5 rocks alive. 5 by 5 means you listen to 5 minutes of an episode per day. You send it to 5 friends every day, even if it's the same 5 friends every day. And then what you do, that's 5 by 5, and then you leave a comment. Do that 30 days in a row. You do 5 by 5 and comment 30 days in a row. 30 days in a row. Then you fill out the form. We're going to want like basic stuff like what is your YouTube account name? What's your email? What's your phone number? What country are you from? And what's your name? Stuff like that. So that we can then identify you, invite you onto Zoom calls, invite you to in-person stuff. Because here's what the 700 are going to get. You're going to do that. You're going to do 5 by 5 and you're going to do 5 by 5 and you're going to comment for 30 days on every single episode. And then you're going to fill out the form. We're going to go through the form, and the first 700 that get verified going in order that they submitted, boom, then it shuts off. That's the closing mark. And so here's the thing is, we have that 700. Now, what do you get if you are in the 700? You do that. You do it in time. Is you get immortalization in the end credits, right, on various different productions and, podcasts and whatnot. I haven't determined the number yet, but I'm strongly leaning towards 50% off tickets at all shows forever, and that's inheritable by your heir, one heir. But like literally, let's say you die in 800 years, your kid, one of them, pick one. You have to pick one. I see you right there. You're like, oh, I'm going to make a Jimmy and Tabitha and Regina, and we're all going to have free. No. You pick one. Once you die, you can pass it on to one person. But they get 50% off tickets at all shows that we put on or associated with that are branded under the New Rock Dynasty emblem. So the 700 get 50% off in perpetuity to shows. They get immortalized. They get one recommendation for the next Kingmaker. So here's the thing is, once I'm a Kingmaker and I've reached the 700, then I'm able to go to advertisers and say, we have at least 700 listeners per episode for 30 days, back to back to back to back to back. And we have their contact info. They are real people. They are a part of a club. They're part of an alliance. They will be forever immortalized. Then I can say, okay, we guaranteed have 700 people times 30 days a month, times 1 hour. You know what I mean? And so you're like, now we can make a deal. That's minimum. That's guaranteed. That's the guaranteed number of people. So what you do, the main thing that is done by you guys by being part of the 700 is we are able to then take this show and make it a full-time production. Once it's a full-time production and I'm making full-time money off of this, I can, potentially, not potentially, no. I'm going to take the money and I'm going to reinvest it into the production quality. Right now, I'm shooting this on my iPhone. I have one audio interface. I have one ring light. The reason I'm doing that is to make it as simple as possible so that I can focus on the content of what I'm saying rather than getting caught up and saying, well, I need the right light. Well, I need the right camera. It's like, no. Let's get the mission. Let's get everything going. Let's get the 700 assembled. And once we have that army of 700, we are unstoppable. We're unstoppable. we get the advertisers, we get the guests, because we have 700 people who are working to get these guests, working to get these people. And that's the thing is, so the 700, if you become part of the 700, you get a 10-minute Zoom call with me. What do you want to do in that Zoom call? What do you want to talk about? Well, one thing is you get to recommend an artist to be broken. So once we reach the 700, we've assembled the army, I can go to advertisers with that. This can get money to put into the show, into the production quality. So now the show looks good. It has a regular fan base, and we have 701, including me. We have 701 people working to get guests on the show. So whether that's messaging all of them, commenting on all of their videos, 5 comments times 700 people, flood their comments with "Go on the Rock Show with Connor Farrell, go on the Rock Show with Connor Farrell, go on the Rock Show with Connor Farrell." And we can do that, and we can chain together. And so we'll decide as a community what those people are and who we want to go on. Of course, I have the final say calling it, but just because at some point you need to make a decision. But I'm open to whoever you guys want to get on, whoever you guys think. You guys know way more. As 700 individual people, we as a collective are going to have way more information. And so we'll synthesize that and go through it together. And then, of course, I'll make the final say. But then we're going to go and we're going to message those people. We're going to get them on the show. And so the whole thing is to say, after we assemble the 700, we're able to get the advertisers, get the money. Then once it's professional and we have 701 people getting guests, we're going to be able to book it so that each day we have a guest. And over time, it's going to get to the point where the guests are more and more notable, more and more, established and bigger. And then once we get to the point where it's I don't know, let's say 4,000, 5,000 listeners guaranteed per episode, at that point, then we're going to say, okay, if we're doing 7 episodes a week that are about an hour long, 45-minute long, with maybe 15 minutes of advertisements, or maybe it's 48 minutes long. Yeah. So it's 50-minute episodes with 10 minutes of ad. But the ads will be fun. And as we get more money, we'll make the ads like skits and we'll make them more fun. They're going to be basically like SNL skits. We'll try and get comedians to come and do them with me. After a certain point, I will. What am I saying? Try. I will. I'm going to see how it works out. But basically, just logistically, what ends up being entertaining, what ends up being fun, but we're going to make them fun. So that even if there's 50 minutes of me talking to Bradley Martin or talking to Dave Grohl. Let's say there's 50 minutes of me talking to Dave Grohl, and interspersed it's 10 minutes of goofy ads that we do from scratch. And so hopefully, we vary up the ads and we do them new, or we improvise them, and we do, let's say when we're recording them, we get a bunch of comedians and we do 8 different versions of the same ad. Literally we read the script, we improvise 8 different versions. So each time you see an episode that week, it's going to be a different version. You haven't seen it before, right? So that kind of stuff. So, so that's going to be kind of the structure. But at that point, once we get to that point where I'm just making a number up right now, but we don't need to know it. We'll figure it out because the 701 of us will figure it out. We're going to figure out at what threshold and what guest level of notoriety and fame and status and clout and brand they have built up. At some point, once it's like Dave Grohl, but well before then, once it's people who are notable to any extent, and it's regularly every single person who's coming on for the most part is a big personality with an existing audience, or a medium-sized personality with an existing audience, then at that point I think we're a kingmaker. The point where it's okay, we have an audience that is active. The 701 of us have an audience that's active. We have, what else do we have? Well, we have a bigger audience, and it's publicized that we have a big audience in the sense that 5,000 views per episode, we probably have at least 6,000 followers on the YouTube channel, right? If not 25, right? And so let's say we've got us doing TikToks and things promoting it all the time, and the 701 of us are promoting TikToks and doing things. At that point, we've got influence, we've got leverage, we've got respect in the community, and we're able to easily get people who want to come on because they're excited about the mission and they see it's working, right? Because they see, it was the 701, and now the 701 have taken the Rock Show and they've made it into this thing where they're kingmakers. And so once the Rock Show is a kingmaker, once I'm a kingmaker, once the Rock Show with Connor Farrell is the Joe Rogan of rock, then we're able to be kingmakers, the same way that Joe Rogan is a kingmaker in comedy. That doesn't mean you agree with his politics. That doesn't mean he agrees with the politics, or any of the comedians he's put on the map agreed with his politics. Nothing to do with that, or his social, or his cultural views, or his religious views. Completely irrelevant. The concept we're looking at is the fact that Joe Rogan could bring on Theo Von and Tim Dillon and these different comedians, and now they're huge. Now they're touring, selling acts, right? Tony Hinchcliffe is a kingmaker, right? He was able to take all sorts of comedians, Hans Kim, an example, and now he's able to tour. William Montgomery, able to tour. David Lucas, touring comedian. All of these people have been put on the map by a kingmaker. And I predict within the next year or two, they themselves will become kingmakers. If they keep going, they, at the trajectory they are, they will be able to put other people on the map. And so the goal of the 701, our goal is to take this show, make it so that it's the Rogan of rock, so that we can be kingmakers. We can take who we want, we can put them on the show, and the idea being that if we do 7 episodes a week, 5 of them are with people with big audience, new audiences, cross-promoting, growing, getting to expose more people to the message, and getting to network with more people. But then 2 of those, let's say every 3 months, there's 2 people who come on once a week, every week for 10 to 12 weeks. And we introduce them to the audience, we check in, and they start doing a podcast. And we help them set up their podcast, and we help them get guests on their podcast. Let's say they do it 3 days a week, or 5 days a week, or 7 days a week, or whatever, right? We help them get a bunch of guests on their podcast, and then we do 2 episodes. We do an episode with each of them every single week. So every single week, there's the 2 people we're building up that are the future kingmakers, and the goal is to build their podcast up to at least 700, right, average listeners per episode, but to get them at the end of 3 months established, to get successful people who like their aesthetic, who like their idea, producers and different engineers and artists who want to work with them, to get them kind of set up the best chance they can. And so every 3 months, every quarter, every season of the year, we'll have a new 2 people that are future kingmakers. So here's where I did my projections, and just kind of just rough numbers, just looking at different kind of how does this grow? How does it go? So the most optimistic is that after having these people on, after having 2 artists that were breaking, you know what I mean, for a quarter, let's say it only takes 1 quarter for them to become kingmakers. So we're able to knight them and crown them kingmakers as well. So that, let's say, the 701 assemble. I get the advertisers, I get the production quality up. Once I get to the point where I'm a kingmaker, we knight the other people. The 2 people are knighted to join the dynasty. And these people, let's say there's 2 case scenarios, 2 primary case scenarios I threw out. One is it takes 3 months and then they're kingmakers. They instantly become kingmakers. That can happen sometimes, right? Some people could just be stars, and we put them on the map, and then boom, they explode, bigger than anything we've ever done. Okay, that's good, because that'll feed back on us, but also that's the point. The point is to get rock stars. This is to create rock stars. That's the point of this, is to create rock stars. And so if one of them pops right away, if we have both of them, let's say all of them pop after 3 months and they become kingmakers, not world famous, but kingmakers like we are, right? They can definitely do this full time, and they can be working with people, and they've got an audience, and they can put other people on the map, so they can work with people and build an audience and make music and have a career, right? And actually be musicians full time. If the cost of that is you get to interact with your community and build a community and hang out with people an hour a day, every single day, and let's say some days you do 2 hours, but you also get to meet people and guests, and you get to be exposed to their ideas and their artistic perspective, or just their life experience, and these things can characterize how you approach the world and how you do art. You see, this becomes a very compelling, very interesting, structure, because let's say every person we knight, every night after 3 months of coming on the show, after 10 appearances over 3 months, let's say, right? These knights are instantly kingmakers. They graduate, they are kingmakers themselves. And then the next quarter, it's the Rock Show, it's me, 1 kingmaker, plus the other 2 kingmakers. It's all 3 of us. It's all 3 kingmakers knighting 2 other people. And those people, so the 6 people, then become kingmakers by the end of that quarter, by the end of that 3 months, now there's the 6 new kingmakers and the 3 original kingmakers. So now there's 9. Starting to see a pattern. Then the next quarter, there's 27 kingmakers. This is purely exponential, is what you might be realizing. This is literally when in class they say, okay, there's a bacteria on a lily pond, there's a fungus, and it duplicates every 3 months, right? So it triples every 3 months. You can write it out, do the math. It triples every 3 months. And so what's interesting is after a year, you have 81 kingmakers. Now, this is the most optimistic projection, that everyone becomes a kingmaker right off the bat after the thing. But the whole thing is, as we go, we're going to get better at finding people, at helping the people get good at it, and helping the people reach people. Because as we build the new Rock Dynasty, there will be more people that they can collab with, who could expand them to different audiences, and who they can kind of, because at a certain point, once we have 81 people, well, every month they could do 3 podcasts a day with, like each of these people, or they could do two podcasts a day, of other people's podcasts, and they can do 1 podcast a day, bringing other people on, and do the ones with their king, right? So instantly you've got a community after a year, if that happens. But what I'm saying is, even if it takes 2 years to get 81 kingmakers, by the way, that's 81 rock stars. 81 rock stars. 1 year, 81 rock stars. It doesn't matter if it takes 3 years to get the 81 rock stars, because then once we're at that point, the new Rockstar thing becomes very easy to do. And you might be saying, okay, but isn't there a certain point where this has to be saturated? And so, because this is the optimistic one. This is the optimistic, everyone becomes a rock star right away. I'm going to say starting out, everyone's going to become a kingmaker after a year. But as we get farther and farther in, it might only be, it takes, 3 months for someone to become a kingmaker from being introduced. Right? Some of these people, like on Kill Tony, for instance, Tony Hinchcliffe's podcast, Tony Hinchcliffe being a kingmaker, right? On his platform, some of these people become stars after 1 show. Cam Patterson, I think he's been on Kill Tony for 6 months now, but after the first show, he was famous. Everyone was quoting him, almost like that Hawk Tua girl who is doing well right now. Bless her heart. There's similarly, there's this guy, Drew Nickens, who came on the show. And instantly, after 1 appearance, he was on 4 times in a row, and now they have him on bomb duty, bomb patrol, where if people are bombing on the show, they just call Drew out. So he could get called out 18 times in 1 show, right? And this guy has become essentially a star. So he's someone who you'd say probably can become his own kingmaker relatively quickly. And so as these platforms, these knighting platforms, these king-making platforms, these podcasts that knight the new kingmakers, the future kingmakers, the FKMs, the knights, it gets faster and faster. The time between being knighted and being introduced and being platformed to the time that they themselves are a platform. They are a kingmaker. So I did another projection. So that was the purely exponential one, where I said, what did I say? After 3 years, let's say everyone, it's the super, super crazy. It's just 3 to the number of quarters it's been, right? After 12 quarters, 3 to the 12 is 500,000 rock stars. 500,000 rock stars. You might say, that number sounds crazy, till you realize there's 1/3 of a billion people in the United States alone. Half of them like rock music. So that's 1/6 of a billion. That's what, 166 million. 167 million people. So what's that, 5% or 0.5%? Something like that. But the idea too is 5 rock stars per every 1,000 people, let's say, or every 100 people in a country who are fans of rock. It's not a crazy idea, because most people are fans of 100 bands or 50 bands, right? So it's most likely that even, let's say I did on the other model, let's see, I wrote it down. Oh, here we go. We said Oh, I wrote this out. I typed it. Look at me. I've got notes. And so I'm working on explaining all this and figuring out how to condense this. Let's see. Okay. What did I say? Oh, I think I said even if there's what? Yeah, even if there's, okay, let's say globally, there's 1 million kingmakers, right? Let's say you get to that point. You might think, oh my God, 1 million rock stars, 1 million kingmakers, like, there's no way that can exist. That's because you're assuming that they're all going to be world famous, but they're not. I don't think most musicians will ever be world famous ever again. World famous in that everyone on the planet knows them. I think that age is behind us. I think it's the age of 100,000 people are going to know you, or 1 million people are going to know you. Because if there's 8 billion people in the world right now, 8 billion to 1 is a 400,000 person to 1 ratio. Pretty certain. Or is it 4,000 to 1? It's a 4,000 to 1. Okay, I'm reading the wrong thing. 4,000 to 1 ratio. Think about that. Is it possible that, what is that, like 0.25% of people could know you? Well, that would be 1 million people. But it's 0.25 the globe. You'd say if 1 million people like your music and listen to your music and follow your podcast, you would say, and like your brand, and they buy whatever smoothie has your name on it. You know what I mean? And you would say if 1 million people buy your things and like what you do, and let's say only 10,000 of those people are like diehard super fans out of the million. Let's say only 1,000. Well, if they're each willing to spend $100 a year, it's called 1,000 people. Out of the million who know you, 1,000 of them are diehard super fans. Let's say they'll each be willing to spend $500, the super fans, combined between tickets, between merchandise, between if you have a beverage company or whatever, right? 500 times 1,000 is $500,000. That's not including any of the money from the shows you do, if you do them. That's not including any of the money you would get from advertisers doing podcasts and doing, endorsement deals and things like that. So you can see clearly the saturation point. And that's okay. So that's assuming everyone only likes one person, right? Because here's the thing I said is if there's 1 million rock stars and kingmakers, right? And that's 4,000 people to 1 ratio. But the 4,000 individuals, they don't like just one band. They probably like up to 100 bands. If you're just in saying bands you casually enjoy to bands you really dig, clearly it could be up to 100. Okay. Well, now that's 100 bands sharing an overlapping 400,000 person fan base. Oh, shoot. 400,000 person fan base. Let's say, once again, the 1% rule. They say 1% of your fan base is super fans who will buy anything you put out, do anything, not because it's because they really like you. They really like what you have to say, and they really like your art. Like, there's some people, like, once I have the money, I'm buying everything ever that Queens of the Stone Age and, like, Arctic Monkeys and Jack White, the White Stripes, like, all these bands I really love, Franz Ferdinand, like, I'm buying everything they do because I'm a super fan. Right? And so let's say out of the 400,000 person audience for that band, 1% is super fans. That's 4,000 people. Let's take 4,000 people times $500. Oh, this can't be right. That's $2 million a year. 2 million. 2 million. 2 million off of just merch. Okay, let's assume 50% of that is money you actually keep. Oh, I did that backwards. Divide by 2. No, divide by 2. Okay. That is $1 million. This is just the reliable money. Think about that. So this is where it starts to get crazy. Once you realize we live in an 8 billion person world and people are going to be fans of hundreds of things at the same time, people can be a fan of AC/DC and Metallica and Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult and Dio, and they like the Motley Crue documentary or the movie, and they like the Nickelback thing, and they like Limp Bizkit, and they like Korn, and they like Slipknot, and they like Kiss, and they like The Strokes, and they like Franz Ferdinand, and they like Arctic Monkeys, and they like the 1975, and they like... I could do that. I could easily list 100 to 200 to 300 bands that people can like at the same time, and they already do. So you're realizing there's 166 million people right now demanding rock every single day. And they want new rock. That is where we come in. That is where the 701st Regiment comes in. That is where we come in. We will make it rock. And here's the thing. This is what the comedians realized. It's not he's successful or I'm successful. It's we're both successful. If he's successful and then I go on his podcast, I'm now successful. If I'm successful and he comes on my podcast, now he's successful. The demand for rock and roll is almost unfillable. And at the very least, the 701 of us, there's room for that. And here's the thing, too. The 701 of us work together. We get this podcast to be a big kingmaker with 1 year. I'm able to have on Bert Kreischer and, I don't know, Andrew Schultz, like people who have big podcasts. I'm able to get on Corey Taylor. I'm able to get on Dave Grohl. I'm able to get these people on. I now have all the connections of someone who can get these people on. I have the connections to all of the rock recording engineers, producers, all of these people, all of the songwriters, all of the producers, all of the different artists. What do you think that means for the 701? The 700 of us have access to this now. It's not just me. I'm a conduit to funnel through the energy, but we're able to get it. That's what being in the 700 is. If you're in the 700, see, people don't realize this. It literally costs you nothing. It does cost you something. It costs you your time and your investment, but it's a tiny amount of time. It's watching 5 minutes a day, texting 5 people, and writing 1 comment. You can literally say, submission for the 700, 1 of 30. Submission for the 700, 2 of 30. You could literally write a comment and then at the end go, submission for the 701st Regiment, 1 of 3 for me, or 1 of 30, or 2 of 30, or whatever. That's the thing is, but you're going to get access, and even, let's say it takes 2 years. Let's say it takes 3. College takes longer than that. Getting a college degree takes longer than 2 years. Let's say it takes 2 years, and then the 701st have access to every big musician and artist and all of these people in the world. You don't think we can go person by person in the 700 who wants to do a podcast, as long as, you actually put in the effort to do the podcast? You don't think we'll be able to platform, let's say, it's because that was the whole thing, is it becomes, at first I can only do 2 people a month I can put on the platform, right? I can only platform so let's say I said 8 a year. But here's the thing is, after a year, we said it's 81. Now, I did a projection where it says, let's say I have someone on, I have 2 people on, right? But it takes them a year for them to become a kingmaker like me. Okay. You might think, wow, that's really going to throw things off. The first year, it's just me. And we're waiting. The other people are building their audience. But once you get to the 1 year point, and it's been a year, you get to 5 quarters in, it starts popping up. First it goes up, from 1 to 3. Then it goes up to 5. Then it goes up to 7. By the end of year 2, it's at 9. Then it goes 15, then 25, now 40, now 57, now 87, now 137. Then it goes to 215 or whatever, 319. And it gets to the point where, after a year or two, assuming, this is not even assuming that celebrities start coming on, which they will because we have 701 people to get people on. And that 701 number is going to grow. And once it gets to the point where there's 10,000 people watching every episode, and we say, hey, the 701st, we have decided along with you that these are the 5 people this is the person we're going to message until they come on the show. And then we're going to message this person the next day, and then the next day. And each day we pick a person that we're going to message until they come on the show. You're going to have, if we have 10,000 people listening every day, you're going to have at least, 1,000. We're at least going to have the 700. Let's say we have 2,000 people messaging a person every single day to come on the show. You realize what's going to happen. We're going to get a bigger and bigger and bigger audience. And so then when we do start bringing these people on, it's not going to take a year for them to blow up like these low-end projections. It's going to be quicker. It's going to, after a year, it's going to be, like we said with the original, it's only going to take 10 appearances on the show for this person to be able to build their audience, especially if we're using our connections to get them people. Because then the people who are blown up after that are going to be working with the people who just got blown up and their connections, who we just passed most of them on to, right? So we're building a community of people who are all being established as kingmakers, who are all being established as rock stars. We're building a new Rock Dynasty. That's who the 701st are. They're not going to be recognized as rock stars within the first week. But within 10 years, they are going to be rock stars, and they're going to be the biggest rock stars because they're the ones who got in the soonest, the quickest. And so, yeah, the list of perks. 50% off tickets. You won't need the 50% off the tickets. You're going to be rich and famous. You will be backstage. You will be a rock star. You will be playing your own shows. Now, this is the plus side for the people who don't, who aren't interested in, being rock stars or front facing, and they just care about bringing back rock. They get these other benefits. But you get the 10-minute Zoom with me the first year. And then you get an exclusive yearly retreat for only the 700, only the 701. We're going to do a yearly retreat, and we're going to do all sorts of events and stuff, and we might live stream a thing or two. But we are going to be in this community. Almost all of them are going to be the hugely successful rock stars who get in, who get recommended first, because you hop on the Zoom with me, the 10-minute Zoom that we're going to do within the first year of assembling the 701st and going full-time with the thing and going crazy with the show and getting these big guests and growing it and bringing on the 2 people a quarter and establishing them and exposing them and building the new Rock Dynasty and knighting the new lords and rock stars of the dynasty. What did I even say? I forgot. I got lost where I was. But once we have this going, it's like, oh, yeah, that's what you're getting. This is your invitation. You want to be a rock star. You're going to be a part of the rock stardom. You want to be connected with the community. You're going to have the connections. You're going to have. So if we're hanging out with famous people, and here's the thing: is fame is going to be divided into the different people who agree with and like, who vibe with, for lack of a better word, they vibe with the personality of the people they're getting to see in the different audiences. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. That's the time we're living in. So, yeah. So if you want to join the 701st, you can start by leaving a comment and by watching for 5 minutes and sending it to 5 friends. And just do it for a month in a row. Do it for 30 days. That's all you have to do. And from this moment on, I'm going to do one each day, even if it's a 5-minute thing, and I record 2 back-to-back on one day, just because I want to prove to you and make that commitment that you will be able to every day watch at least 5-minute podcast and send it to at least 5 people and write your comment. And once you do, you're going to fill out the form, and I'll see you in the 700. But this is it. This is the new Rock Dynasty, and that was the point, is that we're not going to be able to saturate as many kingmakers But we will still be able to make kings. We will still be able to knight people. Because I did the projections. Let's say it's, let's say this show really becomes the big super platform. We're going to have access to the best producers, the best writers, the best people. So we're going to be able to take the 700, the new people we're putting on game and introducing to the world and get them caught up to speed on all of the best sounds, working with the best people, learning from the best people so that in a year or two, they are the aggregate of all the skills over the decades these people learned them. And they will still have those other people, the experts, there to contact as a resource, but they will largely be initiated in the knowledge. And so after 10 years, we're going to have 1 million. We're going to have 1 million rock stars because we live in an 8 billion person world today. Let's say it doubles. Maybe it doesn't double. Maybe it only goes up by 1 billion in 10 years. What are we talking? Let's say it's a 10 billion person world and there's 1 million people. That's what, 10,000 to 1? 10,000 to 1? 10,000 to 1? Let's say half of them like rock. 5,000 to 1 ratio. Let's say only 8 billion people and half of them. 4 billion. 4 billion to 1 million rock stars. 4,000 to 1. Once again, times 100, because they can like at least 100 bands at the same time, times 200, puts you back at 800,000 person fan base for each of these bands. You have 1 million bands, each with an 800,000 person fan base. Let's say only half of those are diehard fans. 400,000 person fan base. Let's say only 1% are super fans. Out of 400,000, 1% is 4,000. Let's say they spend anywhere from $500,000 a year with you. At 4,000 people spending $1,000. Let's do this again. That's 4 million. Let's say you only net 25% of the $4 million. Let's say 3 million is expenses, which it's most certainly not, but let's say it is, because you're doing a podcast. Let's say it is. Let's say for some reason you end up spending $3 million on your crazy rock and roll lifestyle and the cost of doing business. Oh, look at that. That's 1 million bands with $1 million of money each year just from what the super fans spend. Oh, let's say they do have an 800,000 person audience. Let's say, you know what? What did I calculate? I calculated that equals approximately, let's see, times 20.1. No, times 21. Okay, doing some little numbers. I got a calculator pulled up. Let's call it, I got a better way of doing that. Oh, okay. Divided by, yep, 21.5. Okay. So 21.5 times, they can have an 800,000 person audience. Each of the million bands have 800,000 people who are in their audience. And I said, how many did I say were super fans? Oh, I said 4. Okay, so they have a 400,000 person like fan base, you could say solidly. And let's say 10% watch the show every, kind of day on average or every week. Let's say only 5% of their fan base watches their show every day, but I assume it'd probably be closer to 10. But let's go 10. Let's go 10%. That's $21.5 times daily listeners. Let's go. Said 40,000. Huh. Oh, that's strange. $860,000 in ad revenue. Huh. Daily 50-minute podcast. 1 million bands who are making, so that's almost $1 million from ad revenue. $1 million from the super fans. And that's 1 million bands able to do that. Because there's people in the world who speak different languages. It's going to start with rock, but like some of the biggest audiences are English, and then it's Spanish speaking, and then people in Italy like rock, and then people in France like rock, And then people in China like rock, people in Indonesia, people in Malaysia, people in all of these different places around the world, they like rock music. That's the new Rock Dynasty. That's the world. The fact that no one else has realized this and no one else is doing this. Oh, but here's the thing. So, because that's the question, is really the limiting factor to who does and who doesn't is who does and who doesn't. The people who do the podcast 2 times a week, 1 time a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, 6 times a week, 7 times a week, for an hour at a time, for 10 minutes at a time, for 30 minutes at a time, for 3 hours at a time. Those individuals who do that and then get put on the map, those are the people who will become the rock stars. Those are the people who will become the kingmakers. To become a kingmaker is to apply oneself. That is the world we'll be entering into. So it's how many of you will apply yourself? How many of you will hop upon the microphone and jibber jabber about all sorts of nonsense? Let's say there's only 100 people, 100,000 people who want to jibber jabber on the microphone. Not a million. Out of 166 million people in America right now, fairly confident that 100,000 of them can jibber jabber on a microphone for at least 10 minutes a day. Because that's all it takes. So, the ball's in your court. Do you join the 701? Do you become the rock star that you can be? Or do you wait? You wait and you see what happens, because you'll catch it on the later end, but it's a lot more fun getting to be a part of the 701. Way more fun, 701. If you're part of the 701, you're at the exclusive yearly retreat. You get to influence this first year by having your 10-minute Zoom with me. And you get to recommend an artist to break. That artist can be you. And at a certain point, if you are put on the map, but you don't keep up with your podcast, that's on you. But I bet the 700 people who are going to go through the effort to comment every day and fill out a form are going to be the people who can do a podcast every day, who are going to be the rock stars, who are going to blow up. Because you don't need to believe that I'm intelligent. Well, you probably do to a certain extent. Smart enough to do things. It's not about being smart. It's about doing things consistently. And I have enough ability to do that. And you will see, because I will have posted at least 30 episodes a day. You see what I'm saying? And we might pull a Joe Rogan and take a day off here and there. But we're probably not. Let's just be real. But I'm betting that the people who fill this out and go through this whole thing are going to be the people who are going to be the rock stars. Because the rock stars are going to go, oh, wait a minute. He's going to have this platform. He's going to have access to the people who can help him get it done and help it make it be good. I, as part of the 701, will have access to these connections. I don't know whether it's Discord. We'll make some sort of community thing for us all to communicate in the 701st Regiment. But you have first dibs. You have first contact. When I open my phone, I'm looking in that group chat. When I'm looking at the thing, when I'm building the team, once we assemble the 701, we're going to assemble a team. We're going to assemble people to work with New Rock Dynasty to do the podcast stuff, to organize the community, to be mods on the Discord, so to speak, or whatever platform it ends up being. The 701 are the people. That's where we look first for the talent. Hint. So, yeah. Surprise me. Or don't. Let it pass by you. Because that's the thing. This is going to work. Think through. You know what? Here, think through it as much as you want. But it costs you nothing to watch the episode 5 minutes a day, to text it to 5 people, and to leave one comment. For 30 days, it costs you nothing. It costs you 5 minutes. It could be on in the background while you're doing dishes or laundry or anything. You could be using the restroom, expelling horrific things out of your orifices, orifice. If you're a bird, you have a cloaca, so you have one orifice to expel nasty, terrible things from. Rotten orifice. And it costs you pretty much nothing. And if we're right, if the 701 are right, well, then you've just secured your ticket for the rest of your life. And if the 701 are wrong, you've lost literally nothing because it cost you $0 to leave a comment on a YouTube video. So, make your decision. Do you do the thing that costs you literally nothing and can only result in you being extremely wealthy, famous, and successful as an artist? Even if you're a producer of music, you're still going to have a connection to work with the artist and be connected and to work with and collaborate with the producers and build your reputation. Get a full-time thing by being a part of the 701. I mean, this is obvious. If you can't figure that out for yourself, then that's your own fault. But yeah, the 701st Regiment. We're going to change the world. Kingmakers of rock. God, it's an exciting time. Because they don't know. It's going to be the 701. We're going to know. But no one sees it coming. No one else knows. It's so obvious, and they don't know. They don't realize it. No, but seriously, they don't get it. They don't get it. And then it's going to happen, and they're going to say, oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God, this is crazy. This happened out of nowhere. It didn't happen out of nowhere. It's obvious. It's going to happen. Anyways, it's an exciting time. It's probably the most exciting time. Because there's the most, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Those emotions will be there. You know? And they're going to go, that adrenaline. That is the most exciting time. And no, it's probably going to be when everything's doing really well. No, but there's none of that. Because at a certain point, you're going to be in your castle and you're going to be having a great time. You're going to be a world famous rock star hanging out with Ozzy Osbourne. And they're going to be like, let's do a podcast, Ozzy. That's really, I've got all my beautiful children and all the help, and they're tending to, all of the crops and everything we have growing on our massive estate. It's just too funny. It's too funny. But this is the most exciting time. I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Peace.